Hello everyone, this is Samarin, and this is part 3 of the tutorial on the box. And in this video we are going to go over some of the changes I've made to the box since we last recorded it, and then we're going to put the jump circuit in as has been requested by a few people. So the major changes we've made to the box are that, well, basically we've expanded the trigger areas. I was talking half cubes in the first video. I was trying to make the box as small as possible, but I kept running into issues with the diffusionator, where if you were too close to the wall, the diffusionator would shoot right through it and it wouldn't recognize as a color change. So, easy way to fix that is we expanded everything so that the trigger areas are now 1 block wide by 3 blocks long, and then we've expanded the walls out to encompass the new dimensions of the trigger areas. You'll also notice that the walls are no longer blocks, they're now pieces of terrain, and that was from a great suggestion from J.K. Howe, who also brought up to my attention the fact that a wall climber could get stuck on a block wall while they can't stick to terrain. So it was a great suggestion, and we've gone with it. We've put the terrain up around the box now, and those are the only 2 real changes that I've made to the box. So now we're going to go straight into making the jump circuit, which is a little fun to make. When it comes to the jump circuit, there's a few things we have to remember. One of them is that the weather vanes, they actually they require a whole lot of push to actually get either a townsperson or a character off the ground. If your character's already off the ground, then it doesn't require a lot of push to move them higher up. But if they're standing on the ground, it takes a lot of force to actually get that character or townsperson to actually leave the ground. And so that is why I use 2 different weather vanes to do this. I'm going to use one to very, very quickly exert that huge amount of force. The force that's actually required is somewhere in the 60s. I never remember the exact number, so I'm just going to set this weather vane to 70 to be on the safe side. We'll set it to 70, and we'll set it to triggering active. And now once they're off the ground, then I don't have to exert anywhere near as much force to actually push them slowly up a bit higher. So the second weather vane that I've just hooked up to a locator and pointed up, I'm going to set it to 15 for now. So this one is set to 70, and this one is set to 15, and they're both set to triggering active. So what we need to do now is we need to build basically another circuit like the movement ones we have here. And it's just going to be another simple 2-logic circuit. Now we also want another piece of logic. We're just going to put it right here. And that logic is going to have the input from the trigger area that the player is jumping into. So we're going to say any player enters that trigger area, we'll send an input to this logic gate. Now the output of this logic gate, or let's actually move on and do this part first. So this logic gate is going to be hooked up like all the other ones there, where if it opens, the bottom one opens. If the bottom one closes, it closes the top one. The top one sends its input blocked to the input of the second one. And we are going to hook up the last piece of our logic loop up here. Its output will also supply an input to this logic chain. And so how we're going to use this is we are going to say that this logic gate we just hooked up to the jump trigger area, if it has an output, it will close this logic gate. So the signal from the triggering active will come in, go through this logic gate, and come out the output of this logic gate. So what I need to happen is I need this to momentarily push this weather vane on to get the townsperson off the ground. I'm going to do that with a little circuit I like to use a lot of the time. It has a ridiculous name because I'm horrible at names, as you can tell by the box. I call it my faster than timed layer circuit. You can call it whatever you want. It's really just a quick for loop. And how it works is if it opens, it increments this counter by 1. And if it has an output, it again increments this counter by 1. And then we loop by saying if the count changes on this counter, we send an input back to the logic gate. So here what we're going to do is we're going to go into properties, and might have to play around with it a bit. I'm on a Wii U, and so this target count, the higher you make this number, the longer the delay will be because it's counting up to that number. So it's doing it really, really, really fast. It's much faster than time layer, but I want to make sure that because an Xbox One and a PS4 is faster than my Wii U, I want to make sure my jump is higher than is necessary to jump up onto a block. And so we're going to fiddle around with this number if it's not going to work for us properly the first time. Now, in the circuit visible display, I turn it off because the player doesn't need to see, and you definitely have to hit reset on target reached so that the circuit is always ready to go again. And target reached is going to close this logic gate. So it's going to count to 10 and then turn itself off, is basically what it's doing. So the output of this logic gate, which we just set our jump trigger to activate, is going to send an output to our first incredibly powerful weather vane to tell it to turn off. And it's also going to send an output that is telling this logic gate to open, which starts this loop going. And of course, like every other chain, we have to say the output is going to open, and the input block is also going to open the top logic gate just to make sure the signal only passes through once. So we just turned this weather vane on and activated this circuit, which is going to go really, really fast. Now when it's done, its count, we want to say when it reaches its target reached, it's going to close this trigger area, or this logic gate, which is going to close the one above. So the next time we get a signal from this loop, the signal is going to come out the input block to this logic gate, into this logic gate, and it's going to come out the input block because they're both closed. So we're going to say the input block is going to turn off that weather vane, and at the same time the input block is going to turn on this weather vane. And just because I like using something that should take the same amount of time no matter what console you're on, I'm going to throw a timed layer in here. And I'm going to say input block is going to start this layer, and I'm going to leave it as its default 1 second. Now the beautiful thing about the timed layer is it will also pass triggering actor information. So I just passed it the triggering actor information from the loop over here, and so 1 second later it still has that triggering actor information, which means I can connect it directly to this weather vane and tell it to shut off. So what's going to happen is we're going to get a really quick push with a really strong weather vane, and then it's going to shut off, and the second weather vane that's only set to 15 will turn on. It'll stay on for a second, and then it will shut off. And that should give us a pretty decent jump effect. Now there's one other thing we want to do here. This logic gate is controlling, or is sending the signal out whenever the player jumps into the jump circuit. I don't want the player to keep jumping as my jump circuit is running, because the townsperson could just go higher and higher and higher, and it defeats the whole point of a jump. So what I'm going to say is, when this whole thing starts, I've opened this logic gate over here. So I'm going to say if that logic gate opens, close this one. So no longer will a signal come through. And I'm also going to say the jump is over when this timed layer is up. So when the timed layer is completed, I will reopen this logic gate so you can now again do your jump. So there we go. There's a little jump circuit for us. And now we will use good old Darkwing to test it out for us. After, of course, I save it. I always save before I test anything because bad things happen if I don't. Let's give it a try. And here comes Darkwing floating down gently. I'm going to move him around over towards this block I've conveniently placed over here. And, well, he jumped a little high. That seems a little excessive. So I'll probably end up cutting down the target count of my faster than time delay circuit there. Probably hit it to 6 or something. But that is, in essence, how you hook together a jump circuit. Now it's just going to be a matter of adjusting the target count of that one counter, and that will adjust for us how high Darkwing Duck is going to jump here. So again, this is Sumerian. This should be the final video on how to use the box to control a player. We've just had the jump circuit and shown you the modifications we've made. And I hope you can use this someday in the toy box and blow everyone's mind. Have a wonderful day.